Okay, welcome. So, episode 41, Freedom Hustles podcast with me, John Banks, and Andy Lehman from the Freedom Skills Academy.
Hello.
How you doing, Andy? You all right?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. Yeah, it's been a gorgeous day today, really. A bit windy, but nice. What's it been like down at your end?
Yeah, a bit of a mixed bag, on and off, but as is the norm, the sort of the summer that we've got used to really now. So anyway, on tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about how to kind of promote stuff, but perhaps not in the sort of traditional sense. Once you've written a book, or even I don't know, you've developed your website, or you've got some products, or you want to sort of get yourself out there. There is obviously the traditional ways, which we talked about before. You could run paid ads, you can do Facebook, you can write blog posts. All of that stuff's great, and we encourage everyone and anyone that runs online businesses to do that type of stuff. But there is also some other ways, which I don't think everyone kind of looks at really. So we're just going to have a little talk about that tonight, and it may or may not, spark a few ideas for people. Hopefully it does. Some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, we are doing. We are going to be trying some methods and stuff like this. So that's kind of where we're going to be going. So if you want to kind of lead us in, maybe.
Yep. It was interesting actually that you used the word traditional methods when you were talking about online advertisement, because some of these are traditional.
Well,
these are going back,
I suppose,
back the old style way. I think there's a reason why we're sort of looking at some of these as well, is because I think the studies show that on average you see between 4,000 and 10,000 adverts online. You see a lot of people using ad blockers, and we become blind to them. So sometimes, even though they are great for money, sometimes I wonder if it's
is that like a day every day or something?
That's a day, yeah. That's a day, because I mean, I just had a look at a website earlier on, and there must have been about 30 adverts just on that one when I was scrolling through it. So going back to some of the traditional routes, or the sort of more the direct marketing ones, I can't say how accurate they'll be, but they have a lot going for them. Because for a start, we were discussing this the other day, and this is something that we're going to try, and that is, we found out that you can get 1,000 postcards printed for, what was it, about 28 quid with total, with post in it.
Yeah. So I'm holding one up now for those that are on the video. Those that are on the audio, I'm holding it up now. Yeah. We paid 25 quid for, I think it was 1,000. 1,000 of these. Yeah.
1,000 cards printed for less than 30 quid, which, to be fair, is virtually the price of a takeaway for a family of four, really, depending where you go. 1,000 postcards. Now, I was just thinking with this, depending on what your service is that you're offering. So let's say, I mean, you could do this for a ClickBank affiliate product, but if your product is, say, like £1,000, even £500, something like that, 1,000 postcards at 30 quid. If you just get one buyer, one person interested out of 1,000 cards, you've made money.
Well, you've tenfold. You've more than tenfolded your investment, like, immediately.
Yeah, and the great thing about these is you put a load in your pocket, you go out somewhere, you can, I mean, if depending on what your market is, you could actually post them through the doors of the more affluent houses. So let's say that you were deciding that you were going to promote a car washing business, for example. You could post these through the doors of the big expensive houses who've got the Jaguars, who are willing to pay good money for cars. But the postcard is that you can take it with you and just leave it in restaurants, in cafes. You can ask shops if they can put a load there. You can pin them up. You can stick them all over the place. And with modern technology now as well, you don't have to basically wait till you get home to get to your laptop. So you put a website URL on there, or even a Q code that you designed
QR code. Yeah. QR code. Yeah.
So you put a QR code on them, or instantly with a smartphone, they can be straight on your website within a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
And what I like about this is that if you put these, let's say that you were promoting a golfing product and you went to a golf course and you put them underneath the windscreen wipers of cars. Now, I don't know if this is particularly illegal or not, but if you put them there, and someone has to remove them, they have to touch them, they pick them up, they see them, they tactile, they spin around.
Yeah.
With Facebook ads, you just scroll straight past them.
Gone.
There's
Yeah. It's gone.
nothing tangible.
Yeah. You have to, the Facebook ad, the digital world, you know, the first job is to try and stop that scroll. And that can be incredibly hard now. Because like you said earlier, people have almost become completely desensitized to ads now. I would imagine, and I haven't checked this stat, but I'm almost certain it is true. But I bet you the click-through rate is much, much lower now on ads than what it was, say, 10 years ago. You know, generally across the board, people know what they are now, and they don't even bother. They don't even entertain looking at them. So yeah, that's the first thing. So like you say, you've actually got to physically hold it. So this is where going back, like we're talking about the postcard thing, which I think is a really good idea. And obviously you've got to be careful. You can't just go out and just spoil them around the street and, you know, plaster them everywhere. But like Andy said, you know, if you've got a strategy in mind, and, you know, perhaps you want to sort of like target all your local coffee shops first, you know, put them up on the boards where you're allowed, you know, people put their business cards up on the boards. You can put one in there. Our local post office does things like runs little ads. It's something like £2 for like a month. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. You could like stick a few out there, and you always see people looking at it. Yeah, and like you say, you can perhaps get that attention that you wouldn't necessarily get. We all know that ads and digital ads work. That's fine, but we're talking about slightly different things. So yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And there's some other ones we've talked about as well in there, the other ones that we've been sort of discussing as well, which is, you know, perhaps even going one step further. And that is, you know, obviously we know that, you know, you've just written a book, and that, you know, for new authors and, you know, people that are sort of trying to perhaps break into certain industries, you know, everything's really competitive now. There isn't many niches that are sort of untapped. One way of sort of getting your name out there is to actually just give your book away, isn't there? You know,
that's it. I mean, this one, ideally, I would love to sell it for, as we said, sort of $8.99, whatever. It's a thick book. It's 200 pages, but we've got a plan in our heads. We've got this book points back to specific websites and courses, which are, I'd say, they're not the most expensive, but they're a bit more premium than most things. And so to get a book like this printed at Amazon for the amount of pages, we are looking at £2.82. That's how much it costs to get an author copy.
For an author copy, yeah.
With delivery on top, it basically comes under £3. And so I've just recently had 50 of these delivered, 55 actually. And so I plan to do is to go around coffee shops and places like we've just discussed there with the postcard. In fact, I might even slide a postcard inside them, and I'm going to just give them away free to people who, the way I'm looking at it, you know, yes, and some people would say it's kind of madness. You could spend that on a Google ad or a Facebook ad. But again, the thing is, it's tactile.
Yeah.
People touch it, they read it, they stick it on the shelf, they can see it, and it can get passed around. And it's one of those things. It's also great if people happen to find it. So I plan to leave a few on park benches. But like I say, everything in there is pointing back to the website. So when we all like to spend £3-4 on a coffee. We go to Costa Coffee, Starbucks, wherever it is. You know, we spend a few pounds on that. So I'm thinking to myself, if I'm willing to do that, then I'm willing to lose £3 or £4 on a book.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Today, this is pointing back to products. So again, I figured out that at 55 books, you only need 1 or 2 people interested, and you can actually pay back what you've earned. What you spent, on getting the books printed and given out. But you're building your name, you're building a brand, you're building. People may come looking for you online, so they'll do a search. They could probably find your Instagram account. They can find your email list. You can build an email list with this, and also you're building up because of depending on what your content is in the book. If people read it, then you become seen as a sort of an expert, as somebody who knows their stuff. It's I'm trying to think what the word is now, but basically, in their eyes, you are becoming somebody who knows that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think another important point, like you mentioned, then you could put links and stuff in there. And again, with the cards, you know, like the postcards, you could you can put like a link on there, and you can, if you make that link very, very unique. So what I mean is, so let's say you did do one on a post. Let's say you ran a postcard campaign. A lot of people are going to be thinking, well, once you've distributed all them out everywhere, you're not going to know the success of that. Where are you? How are you going to know where the sales are coming from? Well, you can, and you can put tracking in place. Obviously, you can do tracking IDs and things like that on URLs, but you can make the URL a specific URL. So, for example, on the postcard one, you could simply have a link, which is pretty much your URL / postcard or whatever you want, right? And then on that page, it could be something like, oh, you found one of our postcards. Thanks very much. Here's your free download, blah, 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 blah. Opt into our list for more offers or something like that. So you know that everyone that's going through that page, they are people that have perhaps found that. Links from the book, you know, they're only specific from the book. So you know that they're only going there from the book. So you will get an idea as to whether it's working or not. And like you say, for 30 quid, for 50 quid, for whatever it is, it's nothing. It is a real, it's almost a risk-free way to get your business out there. And at the worst case is you're going to get a load of people that are going to read your stuff and a load of people that are going to see your thing. So at the absolute worst, you get a little mini kind of branding exercise that kind of happens anyway. I mean, how many times, I remember years ago, there is this thing called lifestyle marketing. And this is where companies turn up at specific events that they know the people are there, right? Years and years ago, we used to go to like big, you know, all night, you know, sort of like they're called raves, but they weren't really raves. We used to go all night sort of dance clubs, and you know, and there'd be one at some around our area. They used to be at like event. They weren't at nightclubs, but they'd be at like, you know, big functions. There was one at like Bournemouth. There was one in like the Guildhall, and there'd be, and they'd be tailored and they'd be sponsored by loads of different companies. I mean, this is going back when you could sort of like, you know, cigarettes, for example. You'd always have people walking around. You'd have like the women walking around with like cigarettes, and they know 100%, and they would give you them. They'd say, "Oh, do you want some cigarettes?" And then all you have to do is just sign up here if you don't mind getting the marketing material. All day long, they're going to go, right. People are going to sell out. Another one is Red Bull. Now they're massive. They turn up at the like extreme sports events, right? You always see like a Red Bull man or a Red Bull van or something like that there, because that's their audience. You know, they're not going to turn up at like, you know, a funeral parlor, or do you know what I mean? The Sunday church service. It ain't going to work like that. But they target their audiences and they turn up at the right places. And half of the time, they're giving their product away for nothing, knowing that these are the right people. So they don't care. They're willing to give it away because they know that they're going to create more sales, and they're going to, you know, get people involved in the brand. We're going to become familiar to them. And then elsewhere, they're going to be, you know, buying it and stuff like that. It's just, it works. You know what I mean?
I remember going back to the 90s when I used to go raving, like you say, the cigarette people.
Yeah.
And I can remember they used to go around, and this is when we used to be able to smoke in these places. I didn't smoke, but people who did, they could smoke in the raves, and they'd go up to people and they'd see what cigarettes they were smoking. If it was a different brand, they would take them off them and give them two packets in exchange, and they'd bin them. Yeah, I mean, really, it's quite evil when you think about it.
Of course it is. Of course it is. You never dream of it now. But going back 30 years, that was like the sort of a normal way. I'm sure it's been replicated elsewhere on other products now, not necessarily just in the, like, you know, the clubbing scene, but almost certainly it will be. You know, you'll turn up at certain events and there'll be certain brands there, almost always.
Well,
you know,
I can remember when one of the there was a TV program just recently where they were trying to get the British government to try and cut down on the amount of sugar in foods, and so the person who was in charge was part of the Conservative Party, so he went to have a word with them, and they were doing a you know, what the big meets, what do you call them? I can't think where the conference. It was sponsored by Tate and Lyle, the sugar people. So I mean, how are you going to get the politicians to turn around and say, "Oh no, we don't want any sugar," when they're being sponsored by the biggest sugar company in Britain? But yeah, so like you say, going off at a tangent, but I mean, that's a pretty good idea, actually. If you've got postcards, or at least if you've got like a book, something solid like this, you could go to those kind of events. I mean, depending on what your book is about, and what your marketing is about, what your products are about, you obviously want to go to somewhere that's got some money to spend. I mean, for me, this book would be great in the hands of teenagers because it's got lots of life skills. However, there's not many teenagers who are basically going and wanting to spend their money on a course when they could be out getting kebab pizza and having a few beers and having a party.
Whatever they do at that age. Yeah.
And students, it wouldn't really be, as much as I would love it in their hands, I don't think they're the target audience particularly. No. Maybe sort of mid-20s possibly. So like you say, you've got to go to where your target audience is, which could be business clubs, breakfast clubs, those type of things. But yeah, so other methods. There's one the other day I was thinking about. Now, you don't want to have your car particularly daubed in, signage like a joiner's van.
Oh no, yeah, I know what you mean though, but they do it.
You can get, I think, for like £100 or so, you can get some magnetic car signs, which you could stick on the side of your door. So basically, if you're driving around a lot, you can. The same thing applies. You can have a QR code on there. You could have a URL. Choose a headline. I mean, I was thinking you could actually do this for an affiliate product, like a ClickBank product. Again,
yeah.
Do a lot of driving.
As long as you don't have the really, really crap, 400 letter affiliate link. Obviously, make sure you shorten it to something that's
exactly
by a URL.
Yeah. Well, basically, you go to GoDaddy, buy yourself a domain name, and just have redirected. So basically, just steal the headline and something like underneath. I'll show you how to make £400 an hour by doing bugger all, whatever they say. Click this link. So you could have that on the side of your car every time you're driving up and down the country, delivering stuff or whatever it is that you're doing, or when you're in a car park.
Yeah.
Technically, then, it depends on what the product again is or what your service is. One or two people may be interested to come to your website because, as well, curiosity is a big thing, as we know. But we're in a great position, like we just said. 20 years ago, you'd have to go home and then you'd have to fill in a coupon, or you'd have to go to your laptop, or you'd have to ring a number. You'd have to do all these things. A lot of those things have gone now. You've got a smartphone to basically you just look
instant.
What's that? We do it all the time. We sit in coffee shops and we'll be talking, and he's like, "Oh, did such? I don't know. I'll Google it." Oh, it's just we do it now without. We actually feel lost without that connectivity. So, in many ways, these old traditional sort of styles of advertising are probably better now, because even though they're slow and not so instant, there is an instant solution to find the information from them.
Yeah. So we always talk about, don't we? We always talk about mobiles, and I think, there's no question now that, mobile traffic's it has already surpassed, desktop traffic, and that will carry on. And that's why we always say, make sure, your site's mobile friendly and easily accessible and this and the other. But yeah, going back, like you mentioned about the book and that, one popular one actually with books, we mentioned about URLs. Some authors just buy the URL or the title of their book. In your case, the Life Bible, I don't know if it's gone or not, but you could have like the lifebible.com or the lifebible.net or whatever. And that then becomes an easy way. Like we're talking now on a podcast, perfect for someone that's listening to something, not necessarily, not everyone is visual. Okay. In some places, people want to listen to stuff. For example, if you are listening to a podcast and you've got something like a book or a physical product, or, something that can be bought online, then you could just buy the domain and then just forward it. And that's an real easy way of getting people on that sort of way of hooking through to your product. And then another on that same kind of note is, I don't think we talked about going where audiences are, which is obvious, and that's a great way of doing stuff. Depending on what your product is, you really want to make sure you're pitching it, or you're with your going where your audience hangs out. Classic one being the Red Bull, going to like extreme sporting events. But also, I think people always seem to be put off with this, but don't be scared to go where your competitors are. And by that, you can go where there's a whole load of competition as well. And that's perfectly fine. And the example is, say, for example, I'm going to use the book analogy all the time, but let's say, for example, it could be a book, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a physical product of any kind. But let's say in the book case, you're going to have people that are going to write lists. People love lists. Okay. So people could write a list of top 10, blah, 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 blah. In your case, top 10 life success Bible books, or, life books, or, how to succeed in life journals. There's that's quite a popular niche. So, in the case of your book, they could be approached, those people that have wrote them lists and people that have, constructed them, blog posts and that. And you could say, look, if you don't mind, I'll give you a free copy of my book. Would you mind adding it to your list? Obviously, not everyone's going to say yes, but some will. And then all of a sudden, you're in a list of loads of other competitors, but it doesn't matter because you're there as well. And then you don't have to do anything else. You've done it. Your hands off. So
podcast, you can approach people who are doing podcasts, like you say. Just
exactly.
Them give them a free book if they're interested. They can do a quick read and review. So,
and that's another one I mentioned then just briefly, but merch. So like caps, t-shirts, pens, mats, journals, everything like that can have your branding on it. Everything like that can have. With this though, you've got to be a bit careful. Don't fall into the trap of just thinking, I'll just make a load of t-shirts up with my website name on it. No one else is going to buy that. No one else really cares. I don't want to beat you down a bit, but no one else really cares. However, if you made something that's funny, if you made something that's got a catchy slogan, if you made something that's got an important message, maybe you've got a political view which could say something really bold and has got a really important message that you really believe in, and that there are thousands of others are. Me and you, I think, know what we're talking about here. You could then have a link to a website that you run. That would be perfectly normal. So you could have the slogan, and then up the top or down the bottom, you could have your website link or something like that, which could obviously point to a URL or to a mailing list for people to sign up for stuff. And that's another way. So your shirt could be listed on the likes of Amazon, all the other print on demand places, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are going to buy it because they like the message. They don't even know who you are yet, but they like the message. Okay, you've resonated with them. You've hit a nerve. They believe in what you're saying. They also believe the same way. They want to buy it. They want to show it off. And on the shirt or on the back or on the collar or something like that is the website. And before you know it, people are going to start linking through to that. So there's another way. I mean, there are, like you say, there's loads of ways.
You've actually reminded me of something that I thought about many years ago. I never did do it, but I used to have a t-shirt printing company. I'd have print t-shirts myself. And as a sort of an advertising way of, because advertising was quite expensive in them days, trying to stick it in newspapers and magazines and whatnot. And I came up with a similar sort of idea, like a Banksy thing. I would print off a load of t-shirts with interesting designs and slogans on there, and then I would just get a piece of string and a couple of pegs, and I was going to. The idea was I was going to plan around going around town and hanging them like there was on the washing line, just hang them in certain places around town. These t-shirts. And allow people to see them and go, what's the t-shirt up there for? And there would be a slogan. Then there would be the name of the shop underneath or on the back or something, but it was free for people to basically to pinch as well. So it was like some sort of guerrilla style marketing, sticking t-shirts around town, which I never did get around to doing it, to be fair. But one thing that you just reminded me was you're talking about selling t-shirts on Amazon. When we used to sell the t-shirts, we used to print them off, sell them on eBay and post them out. We would put leaflets in there like you're doing with
Brilliant.
The postcards. We were selling online, we were selling through eBay, we were selling through our website, but there were physical products. So what we would do is just print off a brochure of all the designs and pop it in there.
And that's
so again
perfectly fine. I mean, you could do that. We could do that now. Anyone could do that now. If you've got an eBay side business, even if you're selling, I don't know, anything, doesn't matter. You could post. You can put a little thank you card in there, and oh, by the way, have you seen this? I bought some silver the other day, right? And from a proper mint in the UK. And when it arrived, inside the package was a offer for wine, completely unrelated. completely unrelated, but they're obviously doing a deal with this company, and this
Yeah.
wine company have obviously said, yeah, we'll give you X amount. Is it what if we stick a leaflet in with every order? And every order, I've
Yeah.
got this little wine thing. I guess they're probably an affiliate or something like that. But either way, they've got a little deal going on. So yeah, you're perfectly fine. Yeah.
I've often thought about, because I'm selling my records, as you know, I've been selling them on eBay,
Mm.
about sending a copy of my
Well,
book out to the people who buy a record.
I'll
Which
stick one of these in
I
there.
don't know if they would. That's why I'm just thinking, you're sending me a load of those cards up. I might slide them instead. I don't think they would appreciate particularly a book. But at the same time,
Pay a bit more postage.
yeah. But it's getting your word out there, isn't it? It's just getting things out. I mean, the other day, there's another sort of offline method I saw. Basically, there's a roundabout near us, and some workmen were there putting this sign up, and I couldn't figure out what the sign was. And you'll probably notice it up and down the country now. More and more signs are appearing on roundabouts, and they had this sign saying, "If you want to advertise here, ring such and such." And so there's paid advertising in these spots. And it was when I was thinking about the magnetic car signs, I thought, what would happen if you could cheekily create a banner ad? Actually print a banner or get one of these magnetic things and just go and stick it on top of their sign without paying. I'm not saying that you should do that.
No.
However, I mean, that is another option. I don't know how expensive this is, but you could actually get your products and your services in front of, I mean, this roundabout, you're getting hundreds and thousands of people going around it every week.
I mean, we were testing recently, weren't we? Quite a lot of stuff. And, we've done quite a lot of tests and we've spent some money on stuff and, some good and some awful, and I remember a banner campaign we ran not so long ago, and it was garbage, and that was quite a lot of money. And I think for what we've just paid now, the equivalent, what we've done now. The more physical stuff, it's so much better, so much more value for money. And we can choose where these things go. So in that sense, it's probably a little bit more targeted. And then you got. But the trouble with these sort of banner ads and this sort of mass, get 10 million views for like 600 quid and that, it's a little bit like the billboard on the motorway. Obviously, someone at some point is going to drive past and be interested, but you have to think how many millions before then are just going to completely ignore it. And if you're paying on cost of impression, which most of these online ones are, you're going to be paying an awful lot of money for very, very, very little success, probably. We can't say we haven't. Well, there's only been a sample rate of not that many. We've only tested one, but and I don't like banner ads for that reason. But I'm sure someone will tell us differently. But yeah,
I mean, the whole idea of Facebook and Google ads is that you are supposed to be able to put your advert in front of people who are interested, like you said, unlike a motorway billboard. You're going to have millions of people who just see it and they're not really interested.
No.
With these digital ads, you are supposed to have a lot more control. But again, like I said, there's so many adverts people are seeing that people are becoming blind. It's got to the point now, I don't know if you've noticed, but as you said, they've got to grab your attention. So they use in the marketing term, it's a pattern interrupter. So, they need to interrupt your pattern of thinking while you're scrolling. And they're getting really more bizarre. You've got people who are doing all sorts of weird dancing, trying to get you and doing all this with signs.
It's got nothing to do with
trying everything.
It's got nothing to do with
trying everything to get your attention. So, like with a postcard, like I say, I think that the postcard, the book, some of these other, like you say, T-shirts, these are proper sort of pattern interrupters, as in the fact that they're unexpected. Basically, you're not expecting, because in this digital world, everywhere there's adverts everywhere. Suddenly, to see a postcard or on a coffee table, or it's just pop through the door.
And I think a really important point here we should make, which we have said, but this is cheap. Okay, what we've spent on this little test, what other people can do as well, is really, really cheap. That's not a lot of money, and you have to. There's no business that starts up with nothing. We've done like hundreds of pounds, 600-700 of pounds on big campaigns online. We've worked with clients that have done massive, spent hundreds, thousands on this sort of stuff. And then we've just done these little kind of tests. We're mainly for our, just to see what happens. But yeah, like you say, 25 quid for 1,000 of these, 50 quid for a box of them, box of books. And then, that's nothing. And you have to, it's the old saying, speculate to accumulate. But it's true. You have to do it, especially if you want to, when you're starting out and these sort of things.
Well, that the company where you got the postcard from, they do things like beer mats.
Yeah,
They
beer
do
mats, stickers. Yeah,
So I mean, you could go around.
flyers and that.
Yeah, I don't say you need to be like a graffiti artist doing a sticker bombing campaign around the
No.
city or anything, but you can place stickers in specific places that can be seen. They draw people's attentions to them.
Mhm.
Well, the beer mats, I mean, if your target audience, I mean, if you're trying to choose people who like beer and the sort of sporty, not too old, but like a beer or two, and you think they're your ideal sort of place, you could get a load of beer mats and approach sports clubs,
Yeah, exactly.
the bar and stuff like that, and start putting these down. And
Yeah,
again,
or
a lot
like
of the
homebrew making kits, people that make them on their own at home. You could approach a load of them and say, look, with every kit you send out, can you send one of these out? And there's loads of ways of doing stuff. You have to, but the key message is obviously you got to try and find your audience. That's the really hard bit. It is hard. I understand that. Who's going to buy your stuff? Who's interested in your stuff? What is your kind of avatar? You can spend a long time trying to figure that out. I don't think there's any rush. That shouldn't be rushed, really, because you learn and you evolve, and as your company grows and as your content evolves and as your material develops, that will become easier because you'll start getting more data in, and you'll start being able to see what works and what doesn't, and then therefore your demographic, you'll start to see all that.
I mean, we're definitely not saying that you need to go and waste a lot of money and get loads of different things done. But one thing that does excite me is the technology in all aspects. Is like I said, you can use your phone to read the postcard, you through a QR code, but it's not just that; it's the actual cost now of printing these things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the ability years ago, if you wanted to give a book away for free, or if you wanted to be a self-published author and sell it for yourself, like a lot of the information publishers did, they would have had to get thousands of books printed from a publisher because they'd have to set everything up. I can go to Amazon now and order an author copy, just one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's print on demand, and I mean the cards weren't particularly printing one, but 1,000 cards for. I mean, the postage cost, I believe, put it over 25 quid, but the actual cards themselves, 1,000 cards the price was just under 21 quid.
Yeah, there was a podcast I was listening to today, funny enough, about you can just get one. And there was a guy, and he was going on about how amazing Amazon is now, and there's this world that we live in where you can get print on demand stuff. And he failed miserably English at high school. He was an American guy. He failed English loads of times, and he was awful at writing. He couldn't do it, right? But he kept on. He's persistent at it. And he wrote. This was going back to when it was MySpace, okay, the website, and he just started writing every day, just doing like a blog post every day, just on various ramblings, everything. And his mate used to always used to take the mickey out of him. What are you doing? You're messing around, wasting your time, and this, that, and the other. And obviously now this guy's made it big. He's a big, very successful guy. He's got a massive company and he does really well online. But it was interesting. He was starting out, and so he went back to his mate, and he managed to somehow keep all of his archive of MySpace stuff. I don't know how he done it, but he had an archive of everything he wrote on MySpace. So he compiled it all into a book, a physical book, right? Put it on Amazon because it was rubbish. He knew it was rubbish. And his mate used to take the mickey out of him all the time. So he compiled it into a book, put it on Amazon, ordered one copy of it, and then gave it to his mate as a present. And it was called something like The Wonderful Stories. And he had this real stupid title for it. And he said to his mate, now, every time you remember when you used to take the mickey out of me, you've got one of my published books on your coffee table. And it was like a gift. It was brilliant the way he done it. He told it a lot funnier than that, but yeah, it was an amazing story. And like you say, because he compiled it all together and had the whole thing into a proper book for like £3 or something.
That is a brilliant story because I mean yeah, if as long as Amazon approve your book and it goes live, then you can print a copy off and then just take it off. So you can actually, I mean, you can create a cheap birthday present for family members or something. You write a book and it's the only one in existence and it's cost you about £3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Anyway, we've sort of digressed a bit off topic, but yeah, I thought I'd say that when you mentioned that. I thought it was really funny.
Off topic. It is off topic, but at the same time, again, it's not because it's we're talking about it's also the affordability of these things, which like I said, every now and again, me and the missus, we go for a walk and we stop off at Costa Coffee. We get a coffee. It's about £3.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that regularly.
we're the same. Guilty.
Think about it, like you said, you can spend £3 on a book, or you could have £20 on a load of cards, which can then bring back far more money. I mean, you can enjoy more coffee out of the money you've earned from that.
Yeah.
But it's just a case of, you can just do these little things, especially going back to the sort of the book idea or the car signage, the postcards. If you're selling something that's worth at least £50 to £90 or more, then it's not. Is it not worth spending £20 on it? Just trying it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And another one I just want to mention as well, which is quite the other one is like product placements. So, for example, you've got your book behind you there. That's a kind of an example of it. But obviously, the more famous ones that everyone's aware of will be in like massive blockbuster films now. You always see a little subtle, the guy will pick up a can of something, or there'll be something in the background. And it's clearly a product placement. Now, we're not saying that people can, it's unlikely that your little, I don't know, £3 mug or whatever is going to get in the next Marvel movie. So you can forget that. But what you can do is you can, again, tap up people in the similar niches to you, go on Instagram, go on Twitter, or go on YouTube, whatever. You're bound to have a load of people that are doing the same stuff as you. If you've got an interest in, whatever it is you're doing, you're gardening, or whatever niche you're in, go to other gardening channels, say, look, I've got this product, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind mentioning it in your next video, or just leaving it on the side, and you can have a free copy of it, or you can have 10, or I'll send a load out to you. Again, it's not going to work every time, but someone that happens all the time on Instagram. You see it all the time. There's always people that use makeup's massive. They'll go on, and these women will be doing stuff, and they'll use a product, and quite often, obviously, they may be sponsored by it, but quite often it's just people that they've just given them stuff for free to can you just test it, and you can have a copy of it.
I'll show you I'll tell you a story about the power of stuff like that. I mean, this wasn't actually intentional; it was accidental. But you've seen the film Human Traffic from about 20 years ago, which was about the rave scene.
Yeah, one of my favourites.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a scene where I think it's Coop. He's working in the record shop.
Yeah.
He's wearing a T-shirt which I think says Jungle Massive on it.
Jungle is Massive, yeah.
Yeah, Jungle is Massive. That T-shirt basically was, it was worn because it was to do with the music.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually... It wasn't placed there as a paid sponsorship by the T-shirt designer, but because of that T-shirt appearing in that film, his T-shirt printing business just shot through the roof.
Mental.
Basically, everybody went searching for a Junglist Massive T-shirt, or it was all into the music, and so that was it. His website was like these T-shirts,
cult classic, and then like you say, it's all of a sudden,
yeah,
exactly. That's what can happen.
Works. Absolutely. So I mean, that celebrity endorsement is incredible, and this is why sometimes it gets a bit frustrating when you see Radio 1 and TV presenters, Radio 1 DJs and presenters are now writing children's books, because that they're going to make money because they've already got the status behind them. People are saying, well, if you ever fancy writing a children's book, we'll put your name onto it, and the work's already done there. But if you can get into that position where you appear in a newspaper, you appear on TV or something like that, it can send you through, send your earnings, your popularity through the stratosphere.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Well, I think we'll wrap it up. That's quite a good little chat. Loads of little ideas there. Hopefully, you got some good takeaways from that. We talked about power of free stuff. We've talked about free before. The immense power it can be when you're giving stuff away, and it can lead on to other things. Then there's some other little methods: postcard, giving away books, physical products. We just talked about then, product placements. Loads of, I can't remember them all. We talked about now. But yeah, so that was quite a good chat. Any closing thoughts?
Just basically want to echo something that you said, which is like approach YouTubers, podcasters. Send them things. I mean, obviously, probably not send them out cold. Message them a few times before and get to know them. But send them to people. I mean, even possibly offer a YouTuber some money to get your product out in front, especially if they've got tens of thousands of viewers.
Absolutely, definitely. Yeah.
So that was a brilliant talk. So what number was this one? 41, you say?
That was episode 41. Yeah. So I've been John Banks and I've been with
Andy Lehman, and you can catch us both over at thefreedomskillsacademy.com, and we shall see you in the next podcast, next episode. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.